All right, it is 7 o'clock, and I will call the March 14th Newcastle Select Board meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Totally forgot.
Okay, and then we'll move on to 3 amendments to the agenda. We don't have anything, do we, Sarah?
No,
Nothing to throw at me.
nope, not this time.
All right, and we'll move on to 4.1, the minutes from February 28th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 28th? Moved by Karen. Do I have a second? Seconded by Rob. Any comments? Issues? All good. It's fine. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from February 28th? All right. Passes 5-0. All right. Move on to item 5, public comments on items not on the agenda. Board requests that public comments are limited to 5 minutes per subject. Do we have any public comments not on the agenda? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on. Move on to 7.1. We have presentation from Lincoln Home. Approach the bench.
Thank you for putting me on the agenda today. I'm Lori Winslow. I'm the Executive Director at the Lincoln Home. And I came to you last fall when or actually kind of winter, when actually at that time I was representing the chamber and we were talking about the parade and things like that. Today I'm coming to you with the events that we have planned for the summer here at our Lincoln Home here in Newcastle, and letting you know about our events and the fact that we're celebrating our 95th birthday here in the Twin Villages this year. And we are working on raising the roof for Lincoln Home because we need a new roof. And that's what our events will be this summer. We have 3 events, and we doing the same kind of events like we did last year. We've got parking set up, all of those things. We have police coming in to be there. Vendors and music will be for 2 of the events. And our August event will be a gala specifically celebrating our birthday. And I just wanted to let everybody know and give you a heads up that this is happening here in town. And if you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Could you just tell us the dates of the events?
Oh, yes,
I
in your
they're here
packet.
somewhere. But
The Boneheads will be playing July 14th. And July 20th, which is a Saturday night, is our birthday bash. It's actually going to be a 1920s lawn party because the Lincoln Home was born the same time Prohibition was going on. And the Boneheads will be playing at that event. And then on September 23rd, the Don Campbell Band will be playing on a Friday night. That kind of ends our events for the summer. I believe we're going to have a silent auction at our birthday party. We're going to have oysters and everything that's Newcastle, Damascotta, and things that were going on in 1927. In your packet, you'll see that you have a handout about the history of the Lincoln Home and how it was opened by the early women's clubs and a donation. And you'll also see our newest newsletter, a beautiful calendar that we gave out this year, and more of information about our events. And anything that you would like to know outside of that?
So just a quick question.
Mhm. So Yes, we have, we've asked the fire station to be an overflow. Generally, all that is parking for a couple of our vehicles. We never had to use anyone last time. The Lincoln Academy has been approached. We will be, if to use that parking lot, specifically probably just the birthday party might need that. Outside of that, the Methodist Church and across the street at I just lost the name of it. Mexicali Blues. We use parking there. And generally we've had no problems with any parking on the street, and we have people making sure that that doesn't happen. We did that last year. We had we have people situated at all the different parking zones, and no parking posted along the whole length of where the Lincoln home is. So
let them know what's going on.
okay.
Just make sure there's nothing sent to or liquor permit.
We have caterers that do that. So
Okay.
they take care of all of that. So we don't have to,
Okay.
on purpose. And last year we were in contact with the old town manager, and because with COVID, it was really difficult to get in here. And we went through all the checklists with him. So
Yeah. No, I just asked that you go talk to the
Code.
CEO.
Yep.
And just go over the parking and things like that, just so we know what's going on.
Yep.
And
Awesome.
then the touch base with the fire chief too, just make sure that there's no concerns as far as, timing and roads and blockages and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff. And just so that we're aware of that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We'll have police there. We contract with Lincoln County Sheriffs.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
they'll also-
just make
Yep.
sure you speak to the fire chief. as
Yep.
well. Yeah, just because sometimes that doesn't happen and people don't know what's going on. All of a sudden there's something going on. It's not on someone's radar or schedule.
I think he already knows them because he approached you already, right? Sarah?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good.
Yep, he's on it.
Yes. Oh, amazing. Thank you very much. We would love that. Yes. Thank you. It'd be great to make a really great board or something for the gala in August.
Sounds like fun.
Awesome. We'd
Yeah.
love to see you all there.
Absolutely.
Reach out if I have any other questions, and no, we are putting a new roof on. No, not at all. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, Lori.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to 7.2, fish ladder update. And we're going to turn to one of our unofficial fish committee members on the board, Karen Paz.
Just a few things. I chatted with Jim. The main thing is that their screen behind the difference the screens that are on so they got to manufacture the new screen. Small people are to install it as well.
So one thing we need to do is approve our half of that, or 2250, to come out of our fish ladder fund, I guess, to have that made. They're going to try to get it done for this season, but the manufacturer is having a little bit of a staffing issue, as a lot of other people are right now. So their fingers crossed they'll get it done before the fish run. The engineer has looked at replacing, Jim brought us up to speed last time he talked to us about the walkway needed replacing, and they're going to probably engineer a wooden structure, be a lot cheaper than the concrete one. It is going to be designed hopefully in the next several months or over the summer, but it's not anticipated to be installed until perhaps next summer. The Fish Ladder Committee is looking at establishing a capital improvement fund with contributions perhaps from the two towns. I don't know how much yet. And then also Kruger, the generator owners. So more information will come on that later. As far as the festival goes, the committee seems to be getting tired and needs new volunteers. So this season, what they're planning on doing, big fundraiser, they're having another Adam Ezra concert at the Lincoln Theater on May 30th, which is Memorial Day at 4 o'clock. And the tickets are available at the Lincoln Theater. The road race, they're still anticipating having the 5 and 10K on the 28th. And then they probably will have tables set up the weekends in May when there are always a lot of people around to sell merchandise and maybe some food. So there'll be activities still, just not the big festival. So on that, I think we just need to approve the allocating the 2250 for the screen build. So I guess make a motion for that.
Yep.
From our Ale Life Capital Reserve.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. So I'll make a motion. Right. Take 22 or pay 2250. Nobleboro, I guess, will bill us. I think they pay the bills and then send us the bill.
And that is 2,250.
Yeah. $2,250 for the screen.
Second.
Any discussion?
How much is in the fund?
About 30,000.
Yeah.
But that's all the proceeds from the sale of the.
From the
Yes.
fish harvest.
Yep.
So the, just a quick background on how the fish harvest operates is something that goes back many, many years. You look through the old town records and it still lists the, how many fish were caught and the proceeds. And after expenses, the funds are split. Nobleboro takes half and Newcastle takes half, and we generally just kept it in that reserve account. And usually we do some repairs every year. Sometimes it's bigger than smaller. We did a whole bunch of repairs a couple years back to really make everything safe and keep banks from eroding. But there's always more to do. So. And then there is a separate nonprofit that sort of handles more of the fish ladder end of things and some of the walkway stuff. It's a little bit confusing how it's divvied up, but there is private money that is raised and put into repairs. Generally, it's the operation. I'm pretty excited.
It depends on the temperatures, but usually the 3rd to 4th week of May. Yep.
And it is kind of neat to get the updates, right before the harvest and kind of after the harvest. They count, they keep track of everything that they harvest, and then also there's fish counters that count how many fish are getting through.
It's Kurt.
Yep. Yeah.
Kurt the fish counter.
And so anyways, we have a pretty accurate understanding how many fish come up through and return, and the number gets bigger every year,
It's been a million plus the last few years.
So
I'm gonna haul Sarah over there this year.
Yeah.
When they're
Start getting it.
harvesting.
It's quite a sight.
It is.
start getting set up a toll road, charge $1 for every fish that makes it through.
Here we
and
go.
That'd be great.
we'd do all right.
Maybe 2 for the photographers.
Yeah.
Sit in the middle of the road.
Yeah, they parked there for months.
All right. So all those in favor of approving the 2250 to come out of our fish reserves? All right. Passes 5-0. Okay, moving on to 7.3 American Rescue Plan Act spending proposal. And we got a couple of items to discuss. We have a couple of people here to talk about some requests. So I know we have John Roberts representing the chamber. So maybe I'll just bring you up and talk a little bit about. Oh, yeah. What's your name?
This is Lisa Hagan.
Lisa, nice to meet
She's our
you.
executive director.
Yep.
As Mr. Lynn said, I'm John Roberts. I'm here representing the Chamber of Commerce. We put together a little letter to try to provide a little bit of information for you. We've been a lot of time in front of the Damerscott Planning Board and Select Board because the projects in Damerscott, not so much in front of your board, but we did talk to Sarah a few months back about the project and what we're trying to do. And a few of the uses really line up well with the allowable uses for ARPA funds. So we made a request for Damerscott and also from Newcastle to see if we could get some town support for the use of ARPA funds towards this project. So if you're not familiar with the building, it's probably sits at one of the most prominent locations as you're heading up the hill right next to the First Baptist Church. It's been in a state of disarray for a few years, and from the chamber perspective, we've always been asked what's going on with the chamber building because people didn't realize that it was actually two separate groups. So the Information Bureau was founded in 1935. It was actually staffed by Board of Trade people, which was the chamber's predecessor in the beginning. And then there was a falling out sometime in the late 30s, and they kind of went their own paths. So we had a chance in 2020 to come back together. It serves multiple purposes, but for the chamber, it will be the first time that we've had our own home. We've always been renting. We've never had our own place to call a home base. And it will also save a very historic building that's very visible between the twin villages. So the Information Bureau has an 85 plus year history of disseminating information. There was 2 locations at one point. There was one up on Route 1 and then this location. And it was, they welcomed their 1 millionth visitor 50 years after opening the first location. So how this ties into ARPA is when COVID came down, it really dried up a lot of the resources for both organizations. Any of the goodwill and stuff that companies had, they kind of held their pockets a little tighter, and it prevented any chance of the Information Bureau kind of making it on its own. So we entered into an agreement to try to take it on and restore the building. And then with the restoration of the building, obviously we need to have a much better financial plan for its well-being into the future. So the chamber, we have over 200 members. It's a membership-based organization, so we feel that we have a pretty strong ability to take care of the property once we get through the capital improvement piece of it. So to qualify for the use of ARPA funds, we were really looking at 2 categories that were in the allowable expenses, and that's job training, and the other one's economic development. I don't want to just read the letter, but one of the big focuses for the building is going to be on a job resource center. So that's going to be, posting of jobs that are available in the area. But more important than that, it's going to be trying to connect people that might be in high school with journeyman type jobs, trade type jobs where the employers are willing to trade and bring them up to a profession. And the other piece is people that are looking to get that extra school or get that extra certification to be able to reach for their dream job and move up within the ladder here in the community. So about 15% of the building space is going to be dedicated to that. And the second is aid in tourism. So the 87 years now that the building's been there, it's always been a focal point for tourism. And we know that the model that it was using of just having pamphlets and letters and brochures isn't going to be the one that can take it into the future. So we have plans to put a self-service touchscreen kiosk there so that people can gather the information that's going to be on the chamber website and have it available at the touch of a finger. And the other thing from the Bike Main ride that the Twin Villages hosted a few years ago. When people came to Round Top, they said, "Oh, I want to go downtown. I want to get a beer. I want to go get a sandwich or something like that." And they found that there's no parking for bikes downtown. There's no place for anyone to park, whether it be in Damerscott or Newcastle. So one of the things we built into this is bike parking to allow people to have a place where they can put their bike, they can walk down, they can visit the area stores and feel safe that their bike's going to be there when they get back. And then there's also a nice sitting terrace where people could have lunch, visitors or locals, and kind of see the harbor and see everything that our two towns have there. So I guess that kind of summarizes in a nutshell what we're asking for and why we think ARPA funds are applicable to use. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
But just curious, how much bike parking were you gonna?
We have about 5 spots.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
It might be a little small.
It's little, but
I didn't want to bring a whole book for you guys, so I tried to put it on one sheet. It's kind of it's on the Vine Street side up towards the flagpole.
And because of the intersection, it's gonna be one way in and one way out because that's a tough
Yes.
intersection.
it is.
So that was also planned into the design.
So there's a thermometer. Is it 300? Is that your target goal or
400.
400? And so does these ARPA funds along with Emerscottas go towards that barometer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This project's brought together 3 different entities that have all, I guess, been helping the business and helping the community at large. We've also partnered with Twin Villages Alliance because they're a 501c3, so they're our fiscal agent for this project, which allows people to donate and have tax deductible donations. But the Information Bureau of the Chamber and the Twin Villages Alliance working together is something that hasn't really happened before. So we're making good connections, and actually it's helping us to try to plan more towards driving economic development, driving some of the other community resources that we feel need to be offered. I think I answered your question.
You did.
Okay.
No, and thanks for that. Plus some, but I appreciate that. No, you've got a strong, impressive membership to the chamber. So good work.
Out of that membership, how many are Newcastle businesses?
Don't know off the top. I mean, we even have booth bay members, you know what I mean?
Right,
It's
right.
like, yeah, Jefferson members.
Hmm.
So I don't know the exact number.
We have a strong showing of all the ones on Mills Road, I can tell you. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you have Friendship, Butler,
Right, right.
Each Company. I mean, there's a lot.
Although that's,
And as you're probably aware, for the last 10 or 12 years at least, we've been headquartered in Newcastle. We had planned on staying there until the building was ready, but the building got sold. So we've moved into Cheney Insurance's place for now, which is right across the road from this site. So we can hopefully watch as it gets constructed this fall.
so
That's what's the anticipated finish date?
We are going as hard as we can to drive toward being open next tourist season. So June of 2023 is our goal. As Tor mentioned, the thermometer, it's moved, but it's not where it needs to be. So we're aggressively going after fundraising. We had quite a setback for about a year waiting for the deed to come from the state to allow us to actually move forward with the project. So that we're trying to rebuild from that. But we're going to be selecting a contractor here coming up by June and pushing to start to have a weather-tight building before winter so that all the contracts and trades can finish. And we're focused on using chamber members to the maximum extent possible. So I can't say that there won't be any, but it's not going to be one of these projects, where you see a bunch of trucks come in from somewhere way away to work on a building in town. It's going to be as much as possible done by local hands, local skilled labor, and local people. So
That was gonna be my next question. So, leave me to it. I also just had a question about the jobs resource end of the the plan and the building. And everything. So is that a new? Will that be a new program for the chamber to have?
yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's cool thing. And then do you know how that would interface if you're a business owner that wanted to post a job or anything else? Just reach out to the chamber, or how would that?
Yeah, I think we're still working through some of the details on that. We've got to try to figure out the infrastructure and if it's through the chamber's website or somewhere else. It's going to be one of the details we work out. So obviously the preference is going to be on members, but we also want it to be a resource that many people can use.
Yeah.
Same with the conference room. There's all kinds of other features the building's had. I didn't get into them because they're not necessarily Harper related, but I'm happy to discuss it further. One either here or offline.
You expect it to be a busy place, not just a chamber office, right? Where you're just answering phone calls or returning emails.
Yeah, I mean, we want it to be a community space as well as a place for visitors to come and get information. We want members of the community and businesses to feel comfortable to come and book a meeting in our community room and to, bring a computer and sit down and be able to take a class if they need to. There's also going to be a history wall. We want people, both visitors and members of the community, to come and experience that as well and to feel pride in where they live and where they visit.
We started having talks with the Damerscott Historical Society, and nice to know, Karen, that we have a point of contact for Newcastle as well. One of the things that the building did early on, this is a 16 by 16 foot structure, so it's not very big. But one of the things that they always did, reading old newspaper clippings, was, they brought down the geology gem display from, the Maine State Museum, to have on hand for, a month or so. They brought in different exhibits. So we kind of see this as not just being, the same, anchored and carved ship there all the time. We want to have it be a revolving door, do things with different local artists, and have something so that, every so often it's going to have something completely different. So someone that lives in the area might be interested in coming to see it. It's not just like the same stuff all the time. And that's one of the ideas we have to try to keep it relevant instead of, just the same stuff.
A bathroom.
Yeah, a
It's
bathroom.
going to be a bathroom.
We almost beat the
Novel.
downtown
I
bathroom.
was going to say, is it going to be?
What are your anticipated days, hours of operation?
So right now the chamber is staffed Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. We're going to be looking to try to find ways to increase that to hopefully 6 days a week.
If you have more people to pull on, I guess, information bureau people.
Yeah, so the
well.
Information Bureau people were a lot of like elderly volunteers. So,
That's all we have around here.
well, what's hard to make plans is, everyone's been disrupted from their normal volunteering cycles. So,
Yes.
really hopeful, in this meeting's also a welcome relief to those of us that are masked to see people come out. And I think, over the next year, people get more comfortable, and then we'll see the resurgence of volunteers back to.
I would imagine you'd get quite a few.
We hope so, and if not, we're also looking at some other ways that we can, get grants or something to try to help bridge the gap short term until we can, build it into the business model for the chamber to staff it more regularly.
Are you waiting to get the whole 400 before you pull the trigger, or is there a certain level where you say it's a go and we'll?
We're going, David. I don't know what that means when I sign the paper, but we're
We're
going.
going, okay.
So, you know, we have, we probably have somewhere, you know, close to $300,000 that's been committed. We don't have, and a lot of it's in either in materials or contributions over 3 or 5 years. So we don't have, even though the thermometer's up there, we don't necessarily have a lot of cash in hand. So we're working to get the finances set to be able to just go. We can't wait any longer. We feel like if we don't make this happen now, we've been fortunate the building hasn't suffered too much damage, but you know, one good windstorm to rip a few shingles off, it could really damage what we're trying to preserve. So.
Aside from Damerscott, if you're looking at other towns to appropriate opportunities as well.
We had a meeting with Newcastle, Bristol, and Damerscott, and at that point, Bristol had already put together a plan for theirs. You know, we call ourselves the Damerscott Region Chamber of Commerce. It's been that way since we were the Damerscott Newcastle Board of Trade. The Twin Villages is always, you know, our go-to area, but we are concentrating on, you know, the peninsulas and the greater region. It's just a little harder of a sell to some of the other towns.
It's a really nice lighthouse in Bristol.
Yeah.
That send a lot of people down there.
I think Bristol Parks and Rec is in the process of joining.
They've
town-
already,
Yeah, the town of Damerscott is the member. We'd love for Newcastle to also be a member. Chamber as well.
Well, you're certainly visible on LCTV. and other places.
Yeah, Lisa does a great job hosting that segment. And, you know, she's really brought us to a whole nother level for us to even think about, you know, taking on a project like this.
So any other specific questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa and John.
All right. And do we have a representative from the YMCA or no?
We do not. We have a written request.
I can add comment on that.
Okay.
I feel like I kind of instigated that, but I'm happy to sort of tell you where that came from.
So if we want to review the overall proposal that we have right now, the allocations that haven't changed based on our discussions last week are the proposal for premium pay at 7,000, reimbursing the town for town hall renovations related to COVID, expenses for 60,000. This room air quality improvements at 25, the Chamber of Commerce allocation for 7,000. I have broadband expansion as a category still in here for us to discuss tonight. Figured we could save that for last again. And town hall air quality improvements, that has increased after a formal quote to 25 as well. And we got a request from Central Lincoln County YMCA requesting 30,000. Under the categories, 1.1 for mental health services, or 1.10, excuse me. 1.11 for substance use services, 2.10 for aid to nonprofit organizations, and 3.6 for healthy childhood environments, childcare. For a grand total of 154,000 out of 186,623 that we have been allocated for ARPA expenditures.
So,
I have a question, just a procedural question. I mean, obviously, we have previously designated that 25 for this space.
Right.
And anything we designate, we can redesignate if we, you know, change in the future. But I guess what's our goal? Like, do we want to sort of get designations in place for all the funds? And then if we need to change them, or so we want to do it as we know, you know, the 60,000 to reimburse, we want to do the 25 for, you know, the air handling in the town office. I guess, I mean, we can do it any way we want, right? I mean, so I just don't know what we should talk about what our goal is.
I would ask that the things you feel certain about, let's approve that. And if we don't have a complete proposal approved tonight, that's okay. We have time to figure out other ways to allocate the funds. But there are some things that seem to be pretty certain. The premium pay figure, that's not going to change. We already have approved community room air quality improvements. The request from the chamber isn't going to change.
Unless we
Town
change it.
quality, air quality improvements would allow us to move forward
Mhm.
with getting work done. So those are certainties that we could move forward with.
And I
tonight.
still think we should vote on 60,000 for the broadband. In the consideration of it all.
So do we want to do these piecemeal and sort of start with those ones that we have certainty on and just vote on them one by one? And
I was kind of thinking we could sort of look at it like a marble jar, and we've got some big marbles, and we just start putting some marbles in the jar. We put the big ones in, and then let the little ones sort of filling around it, maybe, to some degree. And I mean, the way it's organized right now, we could kind of go down through the line, at least discuss, let's just start with the first three and see how we make out. That seems appropriate to everybody. Sure. All right. So as far as the premium pay for $7,000, that's the bonuses for the staff that worked through the pandemic.
Correct. One-time bonuses for staff that worked from 7/1/2020 to 6/30/2021. So it's $2,000 per person for full-time employees and $1 additionally per hour for any part-time employee. Anyone that worked under 20 hours, we didn't budget for. They'd be getting $20.
How many full-time employees do we have?
Just two.
Okay, and then are you
Counting firefighters. So
that's with all there's a bunch. Does that end up being like
So-
5 or 6 people?
it's quite a bit more than that. Approximately 15 to 20. I'd have to pull the sheet
Oh,
up.
it's that many. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Though most worked under
Right.
100 hours.
And that includes Michelle too, even though she's
Yep.
leaving us.
So as far as approving these, do you think we need to make a motion on each
I
thing,
would
or
say
are
let's
we?
just say what categories and allocations we feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I'll make note of that and I'll have a final, we can just have one vote for the approved proposal and we'll table certain lines if we're not ready to approve.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Does that sound okay to
Sure.
everyone?
We'll start with that anyway.
Okay.
So
2.
premium pay, does anyone have any discussion on that as far as yay or nay?
seems reasonable.
Well, I'm a little hesitant that people who are working and earning what they were are now getting a premium well after the fact. And, we've had a number of people within the community who, servers who lost jobs or didn't have the same employment opportunity. And we're focusing on a small group. I don't know if I'm there yet, but that was the first concern that
But we can't give premium pay to the servers.
I know.
Yeah.
I understand. But can we do something else that improves our lives? Other,
I think that's hopefully maybe a little bit what 7 for some people help with, but that's not that for everybody. Give a thought. Did you have something in mind?
Did you
no
want-
idea. It's just, that's a concern I have, that especially when we were closed. Maybe that's not as relative to the firefighters, but certainly in the town office where they weren't interacting with the public as much and they had the protection that we're paying for in the town hall renovations. I just not sure premium pay is the a proper use. Yeah. Willing to listen to your why you think it is.
Again, I'd say being on the board and involved in the town when COVID first hit, those first few months, and then after, it wasn't just the initial, wasn't just the fact that people were interfacing with the public. It was that we pulled up stakes and changed the entirety of how we did everything. We all of a sudden had to figure out operating by appointments and managing the town and the bills and how the town keeping the town running through this disruption was a lot of work, and we asked a lot of our employees, especially the office staff. And the office staff really got bear the brunt of the stress and the changes, and rose to the occasion. I mean, everyone performed well. And at that same standpoint, we had, the firefighters that were just doing everything that they were doing regardless. They never stopped to ask, when they
Is
jumped
it safe?
when they jumped in a truck, as they do with anything else.
Right.
So I think, again, the $7,000 allocation for that seems appropriate. And again, in Newcastle, we try and take care of our own, and are always thankful when people go above and beyond their call of duty. And no one shirked any responsibilities through that time. And it was over a year of change, to almost 2 years of adjusting to that new normal. Over a year anyway. I mean, we didn't fully open the office up to the public without appointments until this past summer, fall, because we were still dealing with a lot of the changes, and again, the staff has been coming in every day, and we've had sickness in the office, and everyone's pulled a lot more weight than normal, and again, I've done a very professional job with it. So I feel like, again, the 2,000 is something. I don't think it covers all the extra we've asked of the staff, but I think it's an appropriate amount.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I think it's reasonable. I think it's hard to put a number on the value of stress. I think even though we were closed for a while, there was also the stress in the town office of just getting pressure to open. So it was sort of on both sides of it. It's been a stressful time for everybody. I think, I think it's deserved. I think a lot of industries have had some kind of premium that they've sort of had available to them, whether it's PPP or, some other program that's sort of helping get through this. I think it's reasonable.
And again, the wages were locked in through the pandemics. We weren't paying our employees anymore for coming in and doing their job. Other businesses were finding they needed to pay more, or did pay more throughout that.
Or just closed.
But yeah, and I mean, again, when we were trying to get the office open, we were in this time crunch, really trying to get the office open by a certain date. And, contractor schedules were lagging behind, and so the whole office staff rolled up their sleeves, and they ended up doing finished painting and got everything. I mean, they took everything across the finish line for getting getting the office open. So
I can
that was just
sort of
hurdle number
see
one.
your point with the office staff, but the part-time folks in the, is that the same? It sounds like different categories of people working in the office, the
We have-
interface of people, but with the, well, I'm assuming that, well, who makes the part-time category? And it's only $1 per hour. So how much are we
Pretty
talking about?
modest. I mean, pretty
We,
modest
we
amount.
also can't distinguish.
Yeah.
We can't pick and choose which employees deserve premium pay, and which don't. If we're going to give premium pay, everybody that has worked more than 20 hours is going to be entitled to that,
Except. the
Except-
select board.
except for select board members and myself. Yeah. Sorry,
How does
sorry
that
about it.
work? Who made that rule?
So, I mean, I would say this is, kind of a no brainer for me, but.
I think it's a
I'm-
modest,
I'm fine
modest
with this,
amount, reasonable.
People have been extra cranky in the last couple of
Oh,
years
yeah.
to come to the office, so I think that's worth something.
You want to come back to this, David, or? you
Yeah,
wanna
I
think
mean,
on
that's
this a
one of the
little
small ones that I think in your
This is a
marble
small marble?
analogy.
bit? Okay,
you know,
I think it's an
right?
important marble though, even though it's small, so.
Well, it's one of those cat's eye, right? That-
All right.
No, one of the clear ones. I know.
So I guess
He's too tall. He's too
we'll get back to that. Order in the court, sir. So
tall.
we'll
Just
move,
say you're young, not
we'll-
old like us.
we'll move down to town hall renovations. This is the work that was done, to, again, provide a safe place and socially distance.
And this is an approximate estimate, so this would be a figure that would have the potential to change, either go up or down, depending what invoices we end up pulling. I need to talk to people that were there during that time
Yeah.
in order to get, but this was the estimate that I had received from Michelle a couple of weeks ago. Was 60,000 for all of those renovations. This enabled us to move offices around to socially distance. It added the sliding glass barrier between the lobby and the office space. I understand we made improvements to desks so that people in the main office space could socially distance. It also includes furniture for this room that allows us to socially distance. Unsure if it includes the cameras or not in that estimate. That's something that I need to find out.
The desk work was donated by a local contractor, so there was no cost.
At the
to
town
that.
office.
At the
Wow.
town
Yeah, yeah.
office, yeah.
What a
But-
nice contractor.
Nicest work that was done too.
I don't know where these
Workmanship.
things came from, but you know.
This was not the
I'm,
same local contractor.
You
This
want
was
our
the
money
handiwork
back.
of our former
Uh-huh.
town
I
manager.
wasn't pointing
Put 'em
fingers. I'm
together.
just saying.
Anyway, so anyway, and this was something that we were proactive in the town when the pandemic hit, and we knew that we needed to do something because it wasn't really a safe place to work, and rather than put up the plastic wrap and 2x4s that some other places did, we decided to make it a long-term situation. But maybe this thing might last 6 months even, is what we were thinking. And so here we are.
Mhm.
But so anyway, I would say that this was, I think this is definitely an appropriate use of the ARPA funds.
No brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
clearly appropriate use and sense to reimburse ourselves.
Yeah.
My only question, are we saying that we're going to reimburse every cent or up to 60,000? Or if the reimbursement was like 54.5, does that free up money for other ones? So,
This would be approving up to 60,
Up
but
to
when I
60.
have, I'll bring the invoices with a formal tabulation if the figure were to change up or down. So either way. If
But we
if
would-
it's less, then
yeah.
I'll let you know. If it's
just
more,
want to
I'll
make
let you
sure
know.
that the person who made that desk over there isn't slipping an invoice in to get us up to the 60, right?
I haven't found one. Nope. Nope.
Yeah, the same contractor did cut their rates in half for the carpentry work required for this.
Who
for the
is
work
this
done.
guy, you know? I wanna
Wow.
hire
Did
him.
it half right, half of nothing. was spent. So it's
We should have
even
just doubled those rates.
even this time. So so at any rate, I would say this is a slam dunk
Yep.
check.
Yep.
Let's move forward on it.
Yep.
Is that, do I have
Mhm.
approval on that?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so community room air quality improvements. This
We've
is
already
something we've
approved it.
already
Approved that.
approved. And again, this number will be whatever the final invoice from the contractor.
Right, not to exceed
Yeah.
25 out of ARPA.
And
right?
you haven't gotten the final from Cody yet.
I have not.
I think we know we're good there, so. So that one's good. Moving down to Chamber of Commerce. Do we want to jump over this right now? Do we want to jump right into this one? It's a smaller marble, but
We
do we
could
want,
come up with a number.
we
Just
want
come
to,
up with a number and who's done.
okay, all right. So we heard the presentation, from the chamber. They're asking for 7,000. Anyone have any comment on that?
At 7,000, wouldn't it be better to go through the regular budget process and request that through the budget process as opposed to a grant?
Through the town.
Better for what reason?
Just it has more of a review than, I guess I'm a little hesitant on the stretch to the student assistance or job assistance piece of it as part of that. It's going
Using
to strike me
ARPA.
more as a member home than as a job center, a job search center.
So the allowable categories I've put for this expenditure is aid to tourism and other economic support. I would argue this is well within
Yeah,
those
not much-
allowable categories.
Right.
But up to all of you, of course, to decide.
Yep.
How much you'd like to
The
cut.
the one question I think that comes up in your comment is, is this a one-time contribution to their project, or, you know, we have nonprofits
Right.
who
they're
come
on,
for trying to
they always ask.
asking for an
money.
annual
Right.
contribution, and the chamber has not been in that category. So I think if we think of this as a one-time event, then these funds could be appropriate rather than out of our
Or
annual.
this, yeah, this pot of funds or this vote as opposed to the rest of it.
Yes,
So-
I would advocate, because this is for a capital campaign that they're doing. This is a one-time expenditure, but something we may want to consider is becoming Chamber of Commerce members. An annual allocation makes sense. Of course, they can request to be one of our provider agencies that we pay out annually, but I would propose being a member.
It'd be the-
35
What?
per resident.
230
Per
is,
business.
is what my office pays.
230.
And I don't know if municipalities even pay. I know Matt showed up a lot. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's a little too low for their project, but that's what they're asking for.
Yeah.
Can't get more. Scott.
I think Denver Scott is getting 12. Is that? what-
I
Yeah.
thought it was something like that, or 25.
Do you want to one-up Cameron Scott?
We don't need to.
You know, I walk both sides of the bridge. all right, so, I don't know. Well, it's a small marble if we put it aside.
You want to put it aside for
Yeah.
now? Okay. Is there anyone have any other thoughts on it before we put this marble on?
What does that mean? We're gonna come back to it.
I guess we're gonna come back to it in a minute.
Okay.
We're gonna
I mean,
we're
sure.
gonna keep pushing through here, Tor.
Yeah,
We're not,
let's do it.
we're getting some things done tonight. So you have anything to add, or?
No, I mean, I think David said it's a small marble. I
Yeah.
agree. I don't think it's, yeah, it's a reasonable request.
Yeah.
If it fits categories.
Okay. All right, moving on. So do we want to, we're gonna come back to broadband, Dave. We're just gonna
Okay.
jump over that.
Well, I'm
'cause
just
that- 'cause you-
curious
'cause
why
you've-
the $60,000 figure was deleted because there was never a vote.
We're
on
gonna,
it
do
or
well, because we'll
anything.
discuss it.
So
as the-
let's come back to that.
We'll come
Sure.
back to that. It's a big marble, I guess, but
Mm.
I'm just jumping all over the place.
No, you're doing fine.
We'll jump down to number 6, town hall air quality improvements. This is for the, I wouldn't really call it a upgrade. It's more than an upgrade. It's a replacement of the HVAC system in the town office. The other one's not really functioning well. It's definitely not. It's definitely not conditioning.
It's not a replacement of the entire HVAC, it's a replacement of the
The
ventilation
ventilation
portion.
end of it.
So
right,
do we,
right,
so we'll have real ventilation.
correct.
Yeah, so
Correct.
they're
So-
gonna be reusing most of the existing heating and cooling.
Yes, we're talking about
Yeah.
replacing the ductwork.
Right.
And relocating the ductwork for the air-to-air exchange system.
Got it.
Which will be a ERV instead of an HRV, so it'll do a better job of maintaining the humidity in the wintertime. So
Again,
That's-
I think a no-brainer.
I think it's,
Yeah, I mean, I
I
think,
think it's a
I
no-brainer.
think we got to remember that we have, we actually have codes in this.
Right.
Yeah.
In this
Oh,
state.
yeah.
Wait,
And
and
I
they need
I
to
wasn't
apply
gonna
to
bring
us.
that up. but-
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, and that is the reason I think
Yeah.
that other system was installed.
Yeah.
Was to meet a code, but it was never never planned out well, even at the way the office was set up before our renovations.
Yeah.
It wasn't really sufficient.
right, and then we made all these changes. to
Then we
the
made all these
plan
changes
and
and
cut it up more so it doesn't work.
chopped up the space.
So is Tor's comment is that we would be more in line with code with these changes or?
Well,
Right.
COVID aside, I mean, there's ASHRAE standards for air quality
Mhm.
for all public and assembly uses. This room would be one of them. And it means that you have to have so many exchanges of air per minute. And as far as I know, this room didn't have any.
Hmm.
So at least we're meeting code with that aside from, the COVID, but, the code supports, healthy air and COVID. So I think we're falling in line with that sort of code requirement. And then the town office, everybody needs air exchange to, so they don't fall asleep at their desk.
Right. Well, we have a lot
Carbon.
of visitors, but
Yeah.
so, but it's subpar is what I'm hearing from you. at
It's
this point.
subpar. Yeah, it just wasn't getting to, it wasn't distributed. There literally weren't ductwork
Hmm.
pieces that were going to offices and separate spaces. So.
The actual HRV that we have in the office right now in the building was serviced, I think, for the first time when we did the renovations. So it was pretty bad. And so, yeah,
And didn't you say the intake was beside something that it shouldn't be beside?
yeah, basically one of the staff members, all the dirty air for the whole office is being sucked past them through it's not good. Yeah.
So they were a filter.
Yeah, yeah, and you can see
Their
it when you look at
lungs.
the actual vents the way they are. You can see which is the intake and which is the fresh air. The intakes, the vents that are pulling air have dirt around. So, pulling dirt.
So this proposed system would actually bring us to where we need to be.
Correct.
It would be an air purification system, the ERV system, and then in addition would be installing a few mini splitters for offices where presently we have a few heat pumps in the office, but it doesn't reach all of the offices. So we have one office in particular that's in a corner that is cold all winter and uses a window AC unit in the summer, which it defeats the purpose of
The
some of
mini
our,
splits.
Mhm.
So that's built into this or?
yes.
Yep.
Yep. So it,
Oh.
to help better distribute heating and cooling throughout the building.
There'd be as a separate ARPA discussion, separate from the ARPA discussion, we do have the possibility to expend some of our building funds to push the building to the point where I guess we just discover it'll be a different discussion that I think we should have when we're not talking about ARPA, but the heating system in the town office is a little subpar as well, the way it's set up.
So the heat pumps aren't doing.
No, the heat pumps are doing great. It's the oil furnace or the oil boiler that we currently have that does a pretty good job of burning oil when we don't need it, like in the summertime. So sorry
Yeah.
for myself and all other taxpayers that until the other day that we realized this thing was running all the time. So anyway,
That's not
that would
ARPA
be a
funds.
separate,
Yeah.
that would be a separate, part of it. So we're using the appropriate end to do that. So I think, again, have you gotten an official estimate? No. So once we get
So
the
it would
official,
be not to exceed 25
Yeah.
again, so that we're in compliance with our bid and purchasing ordinance.
so I think this would be great use for that. Again, it's nice feeling the fresh air right now. I'm feeling lively and I can go all night.
Yeah.
I can just keep going. I think everyone else is enjoying it, right? Isn't this wonderful? Fresh air. So I would say that providing that to the staff would be a good thing. Plus keeping everyone healthier,
Oh, yeah.
fewer sick days, fewer
Yep.
disruptions in the office.
Absolutely.
List goes on and on. So I would say I'm good with the 25.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Everyone else, David, you good with that marble? All right, and then moving on to the YMCA. So you say there's a letter that's
Yep, we received a letter I forwarded to the select board for a request to help fund the YMCA's community navigation program. They had a number of categories that they said that this program would be in compliance with. So mental health services, substance use services, aid to nonprofit organizations, and healthy childhood environments through childcare. They proposed $30,000 be allocated through ARPA. And Tor can probably speak
Yeah,
more to
so
it.
I think where this came from is after, well, no, before our meeting last week on Monday, I had finally looked up what MMA had on their website for allocation, all these categories. And so I was kind of, I was surprised that we hadn't sort of gone through a broad sort of overview of all these things before we had gotten to that point. So when we did finally drill into it, and it occurred to me that there's some social benefit that ARPA was trying to address. Why, should we, is that an opportunity for us to help out, social services in some way? Just so you know, in full disclosure, I was a board member of the YMCA for 2 terms back in around 2010 through 14, and then another member, I was on the board again from 2018 to 2020. So, this isn't for me to kind of explain in detail, but the point is this, that I know that the Y developed this navigation program at some point in the last 5 years, I think, while I was on the board or aware of what was going on. And it occurred to me that, if there's basically a one-stop shop to reach out to a lot of people quickly, it's through the Y, through their navigation program. So I think, I would recommend that we, have a member representative from the Y come in if we're interested in funding something like this, and, ask some detailed questions and figure out, how this would benefit the community. But I mean, personally, the 6-7 years that I was on the board, every time I heard stories of the benefits of this program, just blew me away, because it's, it is impactful to the people that need it. So
It's a referral process, right? Where they actually provide some services.
it's kind of it's I think both. So again, I'm not
Okay.
going to sort of get into the details because I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
speak above
that's
my
fine.
pay grade, but it's something like that. It's basically a way that people can, because sometimes mental, something with substance use abuse or something, substance use sort of is complemented by mental health services. So it's a way to kind of sort of bring those things together. So
Would it be helpful if I read the letter that the Y sent us, or
I think maybe just like Tori said,
have some?
have someone
Yeah.
come, and it was helpful to have the chamber here to understand all that they were doing in their plans. I think the same thing would be helpful.
Sure.
For that.
Children. That's those temporary child care. Navigation. Benefiting from that program, but still with 446 people served, I assume it's through a bigger geographical area than just Newcastle.
Yes.
So I wondered if this is better request for the county commissioners than it is for our town.
Does the county have ARPA funds that they are sending out that's not going to the towns?
They have
I don't
a lot of ARPA funds and they haven't made any decisions.
What are they wait?
Good question.
Hmm.
And nobody has ventured a guess of where they're going.
I don't know. them. It'd be helpful to have someone come in, at least it will be able to find out a little more about it.
Yeah.
And whether we want to make a contribution.
Yep.
Even though, I would love to see the county do something, but it doesn't sound like we can rely on them to make.
I don't think we can speculate, like, no.
Yeah.
But a $30,000 would get them almost to their goal of 33. So we're looking to us to just to sort of make the program.
I would, yeah, so we should talk to somebody. I'd like to know what their annual operating budget is. Not the whole Y.
Oh,
For
okay.
for these
Oh,
services.
for the program.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, the Y would be a lot.
yeah. I mean, they got a building.
So, all right,
Yeah.
so good, just sort of table with
Table it.
marble.
Yep.
For a minute. Okay. So just so everyone knows, I'm keeping a running tally of what we got left out of our allocated funds. So right now, we have
Counting all the marbles.
counting what, so we've only talked about two
Three.
things. Oh, no, three
Two,
things. I'm
three,
sorry.
Three.
2, 3, and 6.
Yeah, so wait, I gotta change that. All right,
117.
what's that?
117, including the one the community.
What we spent, yeah, I'm doing
We
what we
spent.
got left.
Okay. Oh, I see.
So we got, you're saying
all
we
the
have
same math.
116. So we have $76,623.12.
Is that excluding premium pay?
We haven't put
Excluding
that
it so
marble
far.
in
Put
there
that
yet.
aside for the moment.
So we're gonna go
I guess.
back up to, I'm gonna go back up to number one. Or I guess we can jump to the broadband. We've gone through everything. So let's get into the broadband discussion. So previously there was a request for $60,640 that we discussed last meeting. There was a motion made. It did not receive a second. So that's why we're back to the
Okay.
drawing board here.
I think 60,000 is too much. I I had the analysis that I showed of, the gap between, profitable private investment and the idea that if there are customers to serve that are not profitable, that government funds, fill the gap. And if you look at it that way, the necessary contribution from the town is very small. So I think 60,000 is just way beyond that. And I think it's just not, it's too much. I think, when you do it, I mean, again, this is all estimating. I don't know their actual costs, but I think that it would be, if you do something like that, it's going to be, $10,000 or $15,000 that would be necessary from the town. Maybe if we're going for a grant, we need to do more than that. So maybe we put a placeholder of 25,000 here. But I can't see going beyond that.
And as you can imagine, I think just the opposite, that if we invest 60,000 of the opera funds, we're going to get roughly 286,000 a return from a combination of the private business and the Connect Main funds. And so that's quite a return on the investment of funds. In addition to that, with that investment, we get equality access to broadband where we don't have that now.
That round of that round is kind of close to us right now, the one you're referring to, based on what the representative from Tidewater said.
I don't know if they can do magic in the next 4 days if we
Yeah, I
approve
mean,
it or not.
They said
But
it had
the-
to be last week, and we're into this
Right.
week.
But that doesn't mean we can't still pursue that and allocate 60,000 of the funds for the next round that's coming. And then Tidewater would have to decide, is that sufficient enough to build out the project? It certainly would be sufficient to get a matching grant.
The idea, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, there's just some things with their proposal and answers to questions that were just a little troubling. Like, I kind of agree with Rob that 60,000, I agree 60,000 seems to be more than they really should have. For instance, when I asked them if they're running lines anyway, why can't the people who are on the lines before the unserved hook up? And he said, well, we can't use the ARPA funds for that, but we'll be stringing the lines anyway for the next one. But then he seems like he's waiting for us to help pay for what he's already going to have installed. So just some of the things were a little wonky there. And I think there's more room for them. I think there's room for them to do more. But the money's out there, so they just want more of our money because it's out there.
I think sort of one of the things I was looking at with this and thinking about how much to allocate from for this project is that, again, where the broadband community has done a great job facilitating the studies that were done, mapping areas. We actually have some clear data that we know who's not served, who's underserved, who's got fiber already. We have a lot of that work done, which is great. And I think that what we were looking at writing off to the very beginning piece was just that unserved area, which I think is important. But I think that we don't totally know what the funding, what's going to be coming down the pike for this. And there is going to be some federal money that's coming forward to this. Our governor has made a big commitment to getting broadband everywhere in the state in a couple of years, and so I think that there's going to be some funds available for this, and I think that as far as allocating ARPA money, if we did do a small amount, $25,000-$30,000, something like that, it would be, again, sort of in line with spreading out each of these expenditures, hitting as many categories as we can. And that's kind of how I look at the the way we're approaching this is we have a lot of different boxes that we're checking off of allowable uses of the ARPA money. And I think that as far as any other investment that we make, I mean, some of that could be done through the regular our regular budget process as well.
Yeah, I would think the regular budget process would be great for phase 2 to get everybody else to up to the 100 over 100. I'm not as confident as you are in the future funding, whether it's for, what the governor promises or what the president promises, because we just don't know under what conditions will be required to get that money, if certain communities will be favored over other communities. All I know is that we have a proposal that if we put in $60,000, we can get those unserved people served, and we can do it sooner than later. At 25,000, certainly that would help, but that means we're just further down the service line. So those folks will be served 2, 3, 4 years later from now, where 60,000 would moves it up in the timetable. And the surveys that we've had from 255 residents is we need it now.
I'm with your comments. I think we should definitely put some money into this, for now. And I think, then we have some designated funds for this cause,
Yes.
And I think, I think 60, just as, as a matter of percentage of what we're dealing with here in, total funding, seems like a disproportionate percentage of total ARPA funds. So, and I think the 60 was, the way I understood it, was a function of the application process and what needed to secure a grant. And now that that ship sailed, I think we're basically putting some money aside to say this is let's have this money in the pot, and there, and we're still working through this. I think
Did
It
you
is.
hear that the next round's probably October?
I've heard some mixed messages. First
From
we
Connect
heard
Maine?
October, and there hasn't been a date set yet, but then there were Mary Yellen from Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission had mentioned as early as this summer, but we don't know.
It's until they announce, it's hard to
We
say.
don't know until
Right.
we know.
But something I'm sure of is there'll be more competition and potentially less funds available.
One thing that struck me in our last meeting was when Tidewater said that they were committed to serving all of these households, even if they get no grant money.
Right.
And it really struck me that why would they were also clearly not interested in negotiating this about a lesser amount or adjusting the scope of the project, because the way the proposal was scoped and set up was basically to maximize the amount of grant money that Tidewater could get to build out their system. So I was kind of surprised that they weren't, if they are committed to building out the whole system without any grant money, why were they not willing to negotiate with us to get a little bit less than what they're asking? And the only thing I can see is that they have other towns that are throwing money at them, and so that aren't pushing back. So why do they bother with us? So I think that as there are further rounds, I just think it's just not a good deal for Newton.
I respectfully disagree, but I don't think there was ever an invitation to negotiate either. And maybe because it's the speed of moving it forward to hit that grant round. But I don't think we invited Tidewater to negotiation sessions. But the point about building out their system that they want to do, sure, but how long do we want to wait for that to happen? And sure, they'll accomplish that in 10 years, but our citizens are asking for this access now.
Well, the request for the 60,000 was for the project that we can't take advantage of right now anyway. So
Right, but the cost is gonna go up. But if we allocate 60, we're closer for that next round when there's another opportunity.
And I
Mhm.
think, I mean, I think it's a valid question for our budget process as well.
Mhm.
There's, that's, you know, if we're gonna spend, a large portion of money for something like this, I think,
Mhm.
you know, allocating, again, putting that aside, where there isn't a clear, right now, we're just sitting, there's no vendors talking to us, we don't have any proposal right now that we're considering. So
But we did.
what's
I mean, we had a proposal.
true, but we don't current. So as far as putting the amount of money that the vendor was asking for at that time to consider our project, I think allocating, you know, 25 or 30,000 would be an important step in starting that whole process. And this is, again, leaps and bounds ahead of where we were when we started the broadband discussion. It was almost a year and a half ago, something like that. We formed the committee. Again, we were just talking about learning, getting ideas, as to, you know, getting all the information as to where the unserved areas were, the scope of what we were going to be moving forward with, and you know, moving forward with understanding these grant proposals. And again, I think it'd be foolish to not expect something. I mean, like I said, the federal government and the state seems very committed to this
I think if
project. I think that the possibility of you know, doing a bigger project all at once, I think would potentially be a possibility, especially if we still have that unserved area that we're taking care of with it. You know, if we but we don't know where we're going to be headed with that, because we're still waiting to see. So
With the next.
I think this would be a
requires.
good place to start with it. And if we wanted to, you know, even look at setting up a reserve for this, I don't know that I'd set up a reserve, because then it would be earmarked only for this.
I think we need to
But-
have a proposal in mind. to
Mm.
allocate.
Yeah.
I think if we wanted to make a statement that we were serious about broadband, we
Yeah.
would allocate the 60.
So I'll just go around. Does David wants to put 60 down. Karen, do you have any ideas on what you would?
I would feel more comfortable with 25 to 30 this
Okay.
time. And then if we get some
you gotta
kind of
pick-
proposal
You
worked
gotta
out,
pick one number
Oh.
though.
25.
25.
Because-
Okay.
25.
25.
25.
25.
That's all right.
Can I ask why 25, why not 26, 27, 28?
28,
Why?
last offer.
15.
You know, really, I
once,
mean,
going twice.
the thought process is like to get the project done ultimately. So
So if
what do you want to
Tide-
do to move it forward? If it's
Right.
25.
if
that's-
Tidewater's proposal used the same projected build out as their current system, meaning that they thought they were going to put, you know, get 50% of the potential subscribers, the Newcastle contribution would be, you know, maybe 25. I mean, it's because of the way they wrote the proposal that they made the numbers that the governmental entities put in a larger number. So again, I think, you know, I think 25 is a generous contribution from the town.
In reviewing, I mean, to Damascotta was also looking at this proposal. I think they earmarked 12,000. So this would be twice what that allocation was. I think Bremen had the entire town covered with fiber. Their
Yep.
contribution was 16,000, and a lot of that was in kind.
That's
I think
yeah,
it's
they have
pretty
no
much all in
competition.
kind. It was all in kind. So there was no
And
actual cost
Appleton
to
or
it.
Union put in 188,000. I mean, so
Yeah,
we can
I'm
find
just
communities.
saying that, you know, in the surrounding communities that we have here, I think that just saying that 60,000 is what it's going to take to do the project regardless is an unfounded, in
That
this
was the
last
last-
round.
Well, that was the
In this
proposal
last-
that they made. I don't
Correct.
anticipate it changing drastically. So if we were serious about that proposal, which I know some of us aren't,
Yeah.
then we would earmark that amount of money for that.
I would say 20, I would agree that 25 is where I would feel comfortable. 25 or 30 is what I would say. I would.
All
I
right.
would
You said you
actually-
can't say that.
You gotta pick a
No,
number.
I said you
Better.
could pick a number. I said you had to pick a number. I
Oh.
could
All
be
right, you're getting
wishy-washy.
halfway there. Keep going, Joel.
I
Come
could be
on.
halfway there. So-
But there's nothing that says that when we find out what the next monies coming along are and what the rules are, maybe we need to add a little bit more, or maybe we don't. need to add
Correct.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
We just have to find out what the rules are with
Yeah.
the next
Correct.
allotments of money, right?
And I just think that again, where we're having this ARPA discussion right now, and we're putting money essentially aside for this project, I think it would be, 25,000 seems like a reasonable amount to me to just set aside earmark for it. Of course, if it's not spent, we got more grants, we got a better situation, we could reallocate that money for, we have two years to. Okay, so
So you're all comfortable with delaying this, getting the service to our citizens further down the road,
I don't
until we
think
get
that-
enough money till we
Absolutely,
I don't
can
think-
yeah.
add
No,
the
that-
25,000 to get it to 60. Because, it's not gonna happen. And if it does, it's gonna be way, 2, 3, 4 years.
But there's no grant or anything to apply for right now, right?
Yeah.
So
I just don't,
even if we
There's
said
nothing on the
60,
But
table.
why not start on the next grant application that's coming through Connect Maine? We know that Tidewater is gonna want at least 60.
No, we don't, because
Yeah.
they could come with a more reasonable proposal.
or let's get the.
I have to go by what I knew yesterday, today, and that was, we could do it at 60.
Mhm.
I don't expect that to change going less. The cost of work.
We have some time to negotiate or talk with them though, between now and whenever
Yeah.
this next amount comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
But we
that-
could do that even if we allocated 60.
we could do that if we allocated 0. So,
Yeah.
Or 100.
or 100.
Right, I'll take
So-
it. All right.
Sold.
Second that motion.
But, so I don't know, we're at a little bit of an impasse here. I'm looking for unanimous number, or we'll have to start going to.
Well, should I
votes,
just
guess.
move and then you can defeat the motion and then
I think
do a
We've already-
25
we've already-
motion?
I think
We
we
heard
did that
four-
already. though,
Yeah.
on Monday.
I think we did
Well,
that.
if
I
you're gonna
mean, we're
move-
still discussing it. I can bring it again for, instead of 60,640, I'd just do 60. I mean, it's still ARPA funds. It's on the agenda. I mean, if you
Sarah,
voted it
Sarah,
down.
would
that would be
you,
one thing.
would you like us to start coming up with some,
If we're at an impasse, maybe we want to
I
do
think-
it line by line.
I think we'll just go through it and we're just gonna approve it and make a motion. So
All right, want to
Um,
start at premium pay?
let's start at
Well, why
premium
don't we
pay.
just resolve the
I'm gonna,
broadband one first?
because we're gonna start at the top.
gonna-
We're gonna start at the top. So premium pay, we have $7,000 that's been proposed.
7,000.
You move to approve 7,000.
I'll
A second, seconded by Tor, $7,000. Any further discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor of appropriating $7,000 for premium pay? All right, all those opposed? All right, so it passes 4-1. And so we got that one taken care of. Let me just add that to my tally. I gotta keep. All right, boom, okay. I just want to make sure I don't spend too much money. Town hall renovations, we already have that figured out. Community room improvements, that's done.
No, we didn't actually
We didn't
approve
actually
two.
vote.
We didn't.
What's that?
So two, we did not.
Oh, we
approve.
didn't, well, okay, we're gonna do formal votes
60.
on everything. So
Yeah.
do we move $60,000 for town hall renovation?
I'll second
Moved
that.
by Rob, seconded by Tor. All those in favor? All right, that passes 5-0.
Three, we have approved.
So 3 we have approved. All right, so moving down to number 4, Chamber of Commerce. We have a proposal of $7,000
I
for
move-
Chamber of
I
Commerce.
move 7,000 for that.
Tor moves 7,000. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by David.
And I will disclose, I'm a former chamber president and a member, so. that
Okay.
makes it-
Um, so is there any other further discussion on Chamber's proposal? $7,000?
One thing I didn't get is when they would need that, but I guess it doesn't matter. 'cause
We're
it's
just
not the funds.
appropriating it right
It's-
now.
Or we're designating.
Designating
Yeah.
it. Correct.
Yeah, they didn't say that, you're right.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of designating $7,000 for the Chamber of Commerce?
Sure.
All right, passes 5-0, unanimous. Broadband expansion. Yeah, broadband
I
expansion.
move We designate 25,000.
Okay, Rob moves that we designate 25,000. Do I have a second? 25,000. Seconded by Karen. Any further discussion on 25,000? All right, all those in favor of 25,000 for broadband expansion?
You slow.
Four.
4.
All those
Sorry.
opposed? All right, 4-1 passes. And then we'll move down to town hall air quality improvements. We got 25,000 for installation of air purification system and improvements to climate control. We have a motion on that. Moved by Rob, seconded by Karen. Any further discussion on that item? All right, all those in favor? All right, passes 5-0. And then moving down to Central Lincoln County YMCA for $30,000. We talked about tabling that.
Yeah.
until-
Yep.
We need to
So,
hear more.
all right,
So we've approved 149,000 out of our 186,623. If we were to approve the entirety of the WISE allocation at a future date, that would put us at 179.
Or if you had another 35 to the broadband.
okay. Great. Got that taken care of. And, that's good. So that's what you wanted, right, Sarah?
Yes, thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Yep. We made it. We made it around.
We made it
All right.
like a herd of dusty turtles. We
Yep.
made
So
it.
herd of dusty turtles.
Oh, that's a new one.
Dusty Turtles. Wow, that's a good one.
None of us have ever heard that one. Where'd
Yeah,
that come
that's
from?
It's got to be a Belfast.
It's a Belfast thing.
That's a Portland thing. It's a Thomasism.
All right. So moving on to 8.1, we have a town warrant for $34,982.32. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yep.
Moved by Karen, seconded by David. Any discussion?
Nope.
Is that
Negative. I don't-
negative? No discussion. Let me just get back. I have to at least look at it. I have to have it on the screen. That's my rule. All right. All those in favor of approving $34,982.32. All right, passes 5-0. Okay, and do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Moved by Karen, do I have a second. Seconded by Rob. All those in favor?
You-
Look, it's only
5-0.
7:35.
Wow.
Oops, we need to fix that.